Late night glow on silent screens. Another story in between. Coffee cold, fingers fly beneath a vast, watchful sky.
Good evening. I'm Lydia Dela Cruz. Tonight, we turn to one of the country's most pressing corruption scandals, shaking both government and business sectors. The name at the center of it all, Sarah Discaya. Authorities are moving to arrest Discaya over alleged ghost flood control projects, multi-million peso contracts that existed only on paper. These projects, meant to protect communities from flooding, were never built. Yet, funds were released, siphoned, and allegedly pocketed by Discaya and her associates. Investigators say this is one of the largest infrastructure scams uncovered in recent years. Adding to the controversy, luxury cars linked to the Discaya couple were recently placed on auction. These high-end vehicles, symbols of wealth allegedly amassed through corruption, fail to attract buyers. Analysts say the lack of bids reflects both public outrage and skepticism about the legitimacy of these assets. The auction's failure underscores how tainted the Discaya name has become. Meanwhile, Pasig City Hall has ordered the closure of 9 companies tied to the Discaya family. Officials cite violations ranging from fraudulent permits to tax evasion. These closures are part of a broader crackdown aimed at dismantling the network of shell corporations allegedly used to launder funds from ghost projects. Workers at these firms now face uncertainty, with livelihoods disrupted by the scandal. Legal experts warned that the Discaya case could set a precedent for how ghost projects are prosecuted. If convictions are secured, it may strengthen anti-corruption laws and embolden investigators to pursue other high-profile figures politically. The scandal has already rattled allies and raised questions about oversight in infrastructure. Spending on the streets. Ordinary citizens express frustration. Flood-prone communities, who should have benefited from real flood control projects, remain vulnerable. For them, the scandal is not just about corruption. It's about betrayal. The promise of safety, replaced by lavish cars and empty companies. Turning now to the Department of Justice, where a high-profile resignation has sent shockwaves through the legal and political community. DOJ Undersecretary Jojo Caddis has stepped down following mounting corruption allegations tied to infrastructure scams. Caddis tendered his resignation late last night, citing the need to protect the integrity of the DOJ. His departure comes as investigators probe alleged involvement in ghost flood control projects, schemes where funds were released for infrastructure that was never built. While Caddis has denied direct wrongdoing, the pressure from lawmakers, watchdog groups, and the public proved overwhelming. Undersecretaries play a crucial role in shaping justice policy and overseeing prosecutions. Caddis's resignation leaves a vacuum at a time when the DOJ is under scrutiny for its handling of corruption cases. Analysts say this move may be strategic, allowing Caddis to focus on his legal defense, while shielding the department from further reputational damage. The resignation has sparked debate in Congress. Some lawmakers argue it demonstrates accountability, while others see it as an attempt to avoid deeper investigation. The opposition has called a full audit of DOJ contracts and infrastructure-related prosecutions, warning that Caddis's case may be just the tip of the iceberg. On social media, reactions have been swift. Many Filipinos express frustration, noting that infrastructure scams directly affect communities vulnerable to flooding. For citizens, the resignation is not just about one official. It symbolizes a broader failure of governance and oversight. Hashtags calling for transparency and reform trended throughout the day. Legal experts expect Caddis to face formal charges. In the coming weeks, the DOJ, meanwhile, must appoint a replacement to restore confidence in its leadership. Observers say the case could set a precedent for how high-ranking officials are held accountable in corruption scandals. All eyes are on the halls of Congress, where House Majority Leader Sandro Marcos, son of President Ferdinand Marcos Jr., took the witness stand before the Independent Commission for Infrastructure. His testimony comes amid explosive bribery allegations tied to ghost flood control projects. Marcos faced hours of questioning from commissioners who pressed him on whether lawmakers received kickbacks in exchange for approving or fast-tracking flood control contracts. These projects, worth billions of pesos, were allegedly never constructed, leaving flood-prone communities vulnerable, while funds disappeared into private hands. Marcos firmly denied personal involvement, insisting his role was limited to legislative oversight. Investigators allege that contractors funneled bribes to key officials to secure approvals. Documents presented during the hearing suggest a pattern of inflated budgets and duplicate contracts. While Marcos was not directly named in the paper trail, his position as majority leader placed him at the center of legislative processes that enable these projects to move forward. The testimony carries enormous political weight. As the son of the sitting president, Sandro Marcos's credibility is under intense scrutiny. Supporters argue his appearance demonstrates transparency and accountability, while critics claim it highlights the entrenched influence of political dynasties in infrastructure. Spending the commission's findings could reshape public trust in both Congress and the presidency. Outside the hearing, protesters gathered, demanding justice for communities devastated by flooding. Many carried placards, reading "Ghost Projects, Real Suffering," underscoring the human toll of corruption. On social media, reactions were divided. Some praised Marcos for facing the commission head-on, while others accused him of deflecting responsibility. The independent commission is expected to release preliminary findings within the month. Legal experts say the testimony could open the door to broader investigations, potentially implicating other lawmakers and contractors. For Sandro Marcos, the challenge will be maintaining political authority while navigating the fallout of these allegations. Next, tropical depression. Wilma continues to batter the Visayas, bringing heavy rains, widespread flooding, and dangerous sea conditions. The storm has already disrupted daily life in eastern Samar and Cebu, where authorities have imposed strict bans on sea travel. Since early morning, torrential rains have pounded coastal towns, swelling rivers, and inundating low-lying communities. In eastern Samar, residents waded through knee-deep floodwaters, while in Cebu, drainage systems were overwhelmed, forcing families to evacuate to temporary shelters. Local officials warn that the situation could worsen as Wilma continues to hover over the region. The Philippine Coast Guard has suspended all sea travel in affected provinces. Passenger ferries, cargo vessels, and fishing boats have been ordered to remain docked until conditions improve. Authorities say the ban is necessary to prevent maritime accidents, as strong winds and rough seas pose a serious threat to safety for many residents. However, the suspension means disrupted livelihoods and delayed shipments of essential goods. Schools across Baikal and Albay have suspended classes at all levels, prioritizing student safety. Emergency response teams have been deployed to monitor flood-prone areas, distribute relief supplies, and assist in evacuations. Volunteers and local organizations are working hand-in-hand with government agencies, providing food packs, blankets, and medical aid to displaced families. The Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical, and Astronomical Services Administration, PAGASA, has issued warnings of possible landslides in mountainous areas and flash floods in urban centers. Residents are urged to remain vigilant, avoid unnecessary travel, and heed evacuation orders. Officials emphasize that preparedness and cooperation are key to minimizing casualties. In Cebu City, shop owners rushed to secure their businesses as floodwaters entered commercial districts. In eastern Samar, fishermen expressed frustration, saying the sea ban prevents them from earning a living, but acknowledged that safety must come first for families in evacuation centers. The storm is a reminder of the vulnerability of communities still recovering from past typhoons. We turn to a dramatic police operation that unfolded in the provinces, a raid on a fireworks factory that has raised serious questions about safety, legality, and accountability. 9 individuals were arrested in connection with the illegal production and distribution of fireworks. We go to Slovenia Burtos for continuing coverage.
Good evening. I'm Slovenia Bustros. Authorities stormed the facility after weeks of surveillance, uncovering stockpiles of unlicensed fireworks and raw chemicals stored in unsafe conditions. Police say the factory operated without proper permits, posing a major risk not only to workers but also to surrounding communities. The raid was swift, with officers seizing hundreds of boxes of fireworks ready for distribution ahead of the holiday season. Investigators revealed that the factory violated multiple laws, including fire safety regulations, labor codes, and licensing requirements. Officials stressed that fireworks production is strictly regulated due to the dangers of chemical explosions. The arrested individuals now face charges ranging from illegal manufacturing to reckless endangerment. Experts warn that unregulated fireworks factories are ticking time bombs. Improper storage of gunpowder and other volatile materials can lead to catastrophic accidents. In past years, similar illegal operations have resulted in deadly explosions, destroying homes and claiming lives. Authorities say shutting down this facility may have prevented another tragedy. Residents living near the factory expressed relief after the raid. Many had long suspected illegal activity, citing unusual truck deliveries and loud noises at night. Parents in particular voiced concern about the proximity of the factory to schools and residential areas. For them, the arrests bring a sense of safety and justice. While the raid protects public safety, it also highlights the economic pressures driving illegal fireworks production. Demand spikes during the holiday season, and unlicensed factories often undercut legitimate businesses. Industry leaders warn that such operations not only endanger lives but also undermine lawful manufacturers who comply with safety standards. As 9 suspects face prosecution, the fireworks factory raid serves as a stark reminder of the dangers posed by illegal operations. Authorities vow to intensify inspections nationwide, ensuring that celebrations remain jovial and safe. For now, the community breathes easier, knowing one more hazard has been dismantled. Tonight, we bring you breaking news from the countryside, where government forces clashed with suspected rebels. The encounter left one alleged rebel dead, while 5 others remain at large, sparking renewed concerns about insurgency and security in rural communities. According to military officials, the firefight erupted during a routine patrol in a remote village. Soldiers engaged a group of armed men believed to be part of a local insurgent cell. The skirmish lasted nearly half an hour, ending with 1 fatality among the rebels. The remaining 5 fled into nearby forests, prompting a manhunt that continues tonight. Authorities have deployed additional troops to secure the area and prevent further violence. Checkpoints have been established along key roads, and residents are being urged to remain vigilant. The armed forces say intelligence units are tracking the fugitives, who may attempt to regroup or seek refuge in sympathetic communities. For villagers caught in the crossfire, the encounter was terrifying. Families sheltered in their homes as gunfire echoed through the fields. Local leaders expressed concern about the safety of civilians, particularly farmers who rely on the land for their livelihood. Relief teams are now coordinating with Bahraini officials to provide support and reassurance. Rebel activity has long been a challenge in certain provinces, often tied to ideological movements and local grievances. Analysts warn that clashes like this highlight the need for both military vigilance and community engagement. Without addressing root causes such as poverty and lack of infrastructure, insurgency risks may persist despite tactical victories. Lawmakers have called for a review of counterinsurgency strategies, emphasizing the importance of protecting civilians while pursuing armed groups. On social media, reactions were mixed. Some praised the military for neutralizing a threat, while others urged caution, warning against escalation that could endanger innocent lives. Turning now to the economy, where the latest figures from the Philippine Statistics Authority bring a measure of relief. Inflation has slowed by 1.5%, easing consumer pressure and offering hope to households struggling with rising costs. According to the PSA, the slowdown reflects lower prices in key commodities, including fuel, vegetables, and some staple goods. After months of elevated inflation, this dip signals a potential stabilization in the market. Economists say the figure is modest but significant, especially for families who have felt the brunt of price hikes in recent years. For ordinary Filipinos, the slowdown means a little more breathing room at the checkout counter. Shoppers in Mega Q Mart reported stable prices for carrots and pork, while in Pasig Market, costs remained slightly above suggested retail prices. While not a dramatic drop, the easing inflation helps stretch household budgets, particularly for low-income families. We now highlight a story of international cooperation and humanitarian support. Japan has donated 7 mobile birth registration vehicles to the Bangsamoro Autonomous Region in Muslim Mindanao, or BARMM, aiming to assist vulnerable populations who often lack access to vital civil documents. The vehicles, equipped with digital registration systems and outreach facilities, will travel to remote villages across BARMM. Officials say the initiative is designed to ensure that children and families in marginalized communities can secure birth certificates, a critical document for accessing education, healthcare, and government services. For many, this marks the first step toward legal recognition and inclusion. Birth registration is more than paperwork, it is a gateway to rights and opportunities. Without it, children risk being excluded from schools, denied medical care, and left vulnerable to exploitation. In BARMM, where decades of conflict and poverty have hindered governance, the lack of documentation has been a persistent challenge. Japan's support directly addresses this gap, empowering communities to claim their rightful place in society. Officials from both Japan and BARMM emphasize that the donation reflects a deepening partnership. Japan has long supported peace and development in Mindanao, funding infrastructure, livelihood programs, and humanitarian aid. This latest initiative underscores its commitment to building resilience and strengthening governance in the region. The BARMM leaders expressed gratitude, calling the vehicles a symbol of solidarity and hope. In Cotabato City, families welcomed the news with relief. Parents shared stories of children unable to enroll in school due to missing birth certificates. Others described difficulties accessing healthcare or government assistance. With mobile registration units now on the move, these barriers may finally be lifted. For many, the vehicles represent not just mobility, but opportunity. Analysts note that strengthening civil registration is key to long-term stability in BARMM. Accurate records help governments plan services, track demographics, and ensure fair representation. Japan's donation, while modest in scale, could have outsized impact by laying the foundation for stronger institutions and more inclusive development. We now return to Lydia Dela Cruz.
As the investigation deepens, Sarah Descai's arrest looms large. The failed auctions, the shuttered companies, and the ghost projects all paint a picture of systemic abuse. Tonight, the nation watches closely, demanding accountability and hoping this case marks a turning point in the fight against corruption. As Jojo Cadiz exits the DOJ under a cloud of suspicion, the nation is left asking, will this resignation mark the beginning of real accountability or simply another chapter in a long history of unresolved scandals? For now, the spotlight remains firmly on the Department of Justice, and the fight against corruption continues. As Sandra Marcos' testimony reverberates across the nation, the question remains, will this inquiry expose the full extent of corruption in flood control projects, or will it fade into another unresolved scandal? For now, the spotlight remains firmly on Congress, the Commission, and the fight for accountability in public infrastructure. As tropical depression Wilma continues to unleash heavy rains, the nation braces for further challenges with sea travel halted, schools closed, and communities flooded. The storm underscores the urgent need for resilient infrastructure and disaster preparedness. For now, the focus remains on protecting lives, supporting evacuees, and weathering the impact of Wilma together. As 7 mobile birth registration vehicles roll out across BARMM, they carry more than equipment. They carry the promise of recognition, dignity, and hope for vulnerable populations long left behind. This initiative is a reminder that international cooperation can make a tangible difference in everyday lives. I'm Lydia Dela Cruz for the Filipina Television Network. Good night, and God bless.
Late night glow on silent screens.